Hello, good afternoon, wherever you might be watching us from at this moment here in Core Wave TV. Uh, into an inquiry or an inquest of events of recent time, especially within our country, Nigeria, and across the international communities. Of course, what has been unfolding as we continue to experience and feel the ripples of this news and breaking news for that matter. And we want to welcome you to an exciting moment and discussion this evening. Yes, as we deliberate on these important issues, I would want also you to express your own opinion or observations in the issues we might, of course, raise in the course of this discussion and what you think could have been done better instead. Well, that could be uh, done through the comment sections. You're free to express yourself as you continue to adhere to the uh, community guidelines and air your opinions, which will be really appreciated. I remain the host Uncle Chigozie Indibo back online. Just to give you the unbiased reportage of events as they continue to unfold. Keeping it real has been a commitment and engagement in this Core Wave TV. It's a pleasure once again. If you are a returning subscriber, I want to say I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. And if this is the first time you are joining us, wow, welcome to a world of possibilities. Welcome to a place where you can get undiluted and unbiased reportage of events, keeping it real and live and direct to you wherever you might be watching across the international community, across the nations of the world, across the continents of the world. You can get us, of course, by striking at the subscription button so that and turn on the notification button so that once there is a drop of videos, you will get the latest information, of course, that is undiluted, unbiased, and very real. Yes, we are welcome once again in today's edition. We shall be looking at, of course, the Nigerian's political sphere has been heated up. The cloud has been gathering. The cloud of uncertainties, of course, have been hovering over the Nigerian political sphere after the recent controversial uh, presidential election was becomes a subject of litigation to authenticate or validate the claim of perhaps pronouncement by the INEC, the electoral umpire, via his, of course, henchman, Yakubu Mahmoud. And this pronouncement was not well greeted by majority of Nigerians, and some have, of course, several reservations challenging the credibility of these elections. And why should, according to them, INEC not have adhered to its rule of engagement and commitment as stipulated by their own guideline as enshrined or captured in the recent 2022 electoral reforms, which allows electronic transmission of results via the polling unit to what they call the INEC IREV, a collection of datas of the individual polling units as the result of the elections after the entire process may have been completed from that very polling unit, it will be captured down and sent through the, of course, electoral officer assigned at that particular polling unit. But INEC haven't come up with several what I may call flimsy excuses or unsubstantiable reasons why they could not adhere to their own rules of engagement and possibly transmit the election results as they promised to Nigerians. Well, in not distant time, of course, the Presidential Election Tribunal will commence in earnest, and we are aware several intricacies and surrounding this very wonderful moment. In fact, it's a moment that nobody would wish or desire to miss, in the sense that, and I believe you can agree with me that indeed is a moment we must all watch out for as the legal jurisprudence, of course, commences counter and counter allegations and in a bid to interpret, of course, the election or constitutional interpretation of the perceived breaches or confusions or some vague, supposedly that needed to be made very clear and straight. But for us as a learned fellows, and we understood the content within the context of the provision of the electoral laws. It is well spelled out that there are conditions to be met before a candidate will be pronounced, of course, the winner of the presidential election. One of the conditions is that the candidates or supposed candidates may have scored, of course, two-thirds of the majority of the vote cast and also win 25% of the two-thirds of the states and Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. The second one is that the candidates may have pulled the highest uh, vote cast. Well, I think we leave that to the presidential electoral uh, um, tribunal to decide as different legal councils to the parties and the, of course, involved get ready and press up for the legal tussle that has never been in the history of Nigerians' democracy. This is a very trial moment, and I hope, of course, that the judiciary will up their games and will be ready for this legal exercise or rigorous process that will set a pace, of course, for subsequent process or electionary process should that be gotten right at this time. Otherwise, we might possibly be in a quagmire on in a retrogressive process that might take time to recuperate or recover from such impact. And now, of course, already there is a fight in between both parties, interest parties, the PDP, the Atiku Abubakar claiming victory, of course, and the Labour Party presidential candidate in the person of P2B also claiming victory of the elect presidential election that is have been a pass, but the process of challenging the validation or validity of the pronouncement or the president elect Ahmed Bola Tinubu of the APC. Well, as like I said, is an exciting moment. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do, because we are committed to bringing news and analysis of the events as they continue to unfold in Nigeria. Everybody is apprehensive. Some say they could not trust, of course, uh, the uh, the credibility or perhaps the public perception of the legal practitioners or personnel or the judges might somehow be compromised owing to the fact that the politics are very overheated and people of different interests are doing whatever possible to, of course, swear through other opponents. But I believe that the judiciary has their conscience intact and possibly will salvage or otherwise prove those skeptical, those skepticisms, or those skeptics are wrong at this time. But only time will reveal, only time will tell whether, of course, uh, the s- supposed public opinion uh, holds or whether it is just a mere uh, misconception of the entire process or the personality of the judges or that may preside over the case. Well, they are there to prove otherwise and to deliver their jobs and their duty to humanity and by extension to Nigeria. Otherwise, people might be validating their perception and skepticism and the public view of about their personality, which might not be in the interest of anyone. And of course, might went further to damage the already battered reputation they possibly may have been struggling to remedy at this very important time. The next in this discussion is to look into the verdict uh, or conviction given by the UK uh, legal jurisdiction or jurisprudence regarding the former deputy president, senate president of the Nigerian state. Ike Ekweremadu, Senator Ike Ekweremadu has been in a very controversial circumstances in the recent times, which have dragged his reputation and, of course, the need to clear himself from the allegations bordering on uh, trafficking or illegal organ harvesting. These have lingered for some months now, and eventually the court has to give their position or what I call the latest trial of judiciary in the interests of humanity. Yes, I may want to ask, do you think that would have been possible within the Nigerian space? If yes, why? And if no, how do you mean? Yes, through the comment section, you can let me know what is your own opinion or perception regarding this outcome of conviction that he has to back, unfortunately, almost 10 years behind the bars. He is meant to serve with his wife about 4 years plus, and that of the legal practitioner or the doctor, medical practitioner who was involved. Of course, we back full 10 years behind the bars. What do you think about this, and how do you think that will affect the psychology of Ike Ekweremadu? Or could you think he might be regretting those moves and miscalculated moves per se, which culminated into this unfortunate, so to say, incident. It's unfortunate in the sense that he never expected to, for this case to end this way, but unfortunately for him and his wife, and of course the medical consultant, we are not so lucky to have embedded, of course, uh, the footwork of the law, especially as it borders in the UK legal jurisprudence, where uh, there is a high, of course, probability of discharging, of course, the legal process without being interfered by the politicians or the political elites. In this case, it's an exciting moment for everyone to learn, of course, so that you will not be a victim of the next uh, incidents regarding this. And what could that tell us as a people? Bringing it down to Nigeria, why is it that a man who once was a lawmaker in that sense, who enacts law and by his background is a barrister, a legal practitioner, and a teacher of law, could not have known the implication of such acts or such actions as it borders within the UK legal jurisprudence. What could he have done that he never did? Or did they think that possibly his money or legal counsel could have a sway of the entire, of course, pendulum, swing, of course, in their favor? What an unfortunate experience, if I may say, but then it points to one thing that as a society, rule of law must be the fulcrum, of course, on the basis upon which society is established and can move forward, irrespective of whose odds is cause. Of course, nobody should be seen or perceived to be above the law. And the law has its weight on anyone, anytime, regardless of what, of course, status or social political, of course, engagement or exposure you might have at a moment of course, a very good time to learn. And do you think this can affect the psyche of an average Nigerian politicians? How? And what could be done to ensure that the same judicial process or legal jurisprudence experience in the UK, of course, become the order of the Nigerian legal system or justice system? If it were to be in Nigeria, I bet you Ike Ekweremadu would have his way, either through, of course, his connections or possibly through buying whatever that needs to be bought over to regain his freedom and that of his lovely wife. These are all in the move to preserve or perhaps secure the dying daughter who has been, of course, having a kidney challenge of failure of the kidney to perform maximally. And someone eventually decided to donate his kidney, but the circumstances is what was not very clear. According to the ruling, it was gathered that though the young guy, of course, in question, consent was sought for, but then, according to the interpretation of the law, of course, bordering on this uh, very important case is that even the consent of a man cannot consent uh, to his own detriment. It's to the detriment of his right to live or right to life. Even though the man consented, but it is not allowed or permitted by law that someone should take actions that might possibly, of course, place his own life at risk or at a very high sense of risk that may result to life or fatality. This is, and beside that, uh, it was alleged to have involved monetary incentive or gratifications, which is also an offense. This is punishable by that extant law. Well, this is very exciting that it doesn't matter whether the man consented or expressed some willingness to exchange the kidney for money. This is an inducement and an offense according to the expressed laws bordering on uh, human trafficking and illegal organ harvesting. Well, it is it's a crime not just against the individual but against the state, where within the jurisdiction where such was perceived or conceived to have taken place. What is your own opinion? Once again, please, if this is the first time of watching us, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to just turn the subscription buttons very close to you. Just a press will take us further ahead so that others could also appreciate what we are doing as well. And just turn on the like button, the thumbs up, and we are good to go with that. Yes, I want to leave you, okay, with this few analysis so that you can also make your own contributions via the comment sections, and we continue from there in the next editions and the next discussion. But don't forget what could happen in the next few weeks. Haven't seen that, of course, the the royal king majesty have been officially coronated today. Could there be state pardon, of course, coming for Ike Ekweremadu as perceived by so many, of course, quarters that he might be given a state pardon or considerations, as it, of course, remains within the uh, prerogative of the king to either extend such a pardon or decide otherwise. Well, whatever becomes of his fate is what we will, of course, not hesitate to come to fall or to the table to discuss. Until then, keep your eyes across as we continue to bring the latest events as they continue to unfold. The most recent is, of course, the courts. The Supreme Court also will be hearing the case of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra comes 11th of this month, that is next week. We have a very exciting and interesting season coming our way by the grace of God. We'll all be alive to witness all these dramas and intricacies, of course, as they continue to unravel. We'll continue to bring them your way. Until then, remain safe. and have a lovely weekend. Bye.